Have you ever wondered why the moment you stop chasing her, she suddenly starts looking at you differently? For weeks, maybe months, you gave her your attention, your time, your patience. You replied instantly. You kept checking your phone. You tried to make her happy, even when she barely noticed what you were doing. And the more you gave, the less she seemed to appreciate it. Then one day, you stop. No angry message, no explanation, no desperate goodbye. You simply become quiet. And something strange begins to happen. She notices. She starts wondering why you are no longer there, why you don't ask where she is, why you no longer seek her approval. Hello everyone, welcome to the Magnetic Masculinity channel. She may begin to see something she couldn't see while you were chasing her. Your absence has a value your constant presence never had. But there is a deeper reason behind this. And once you understand it, you'll never look at love, attention, or self-respect the same way again. Now let's get started. Part 1. When chasing makes you invisible. There is a painful truth that many men learn too late. Sometimes the more you try to make someone value you, the less they actually see your value. You think that if you give her more attention, she will appreciate you more. So you text her first. You check on her. You make yourself available whenever she needs you. You forgive quickly. You explain yourself. You try harder when she pulls away. And deep inside, you believe that one day she will finally look at everything you have done and say, I don't want to lose him. But love doesn't always work that way. When someone becomes completely certain that you will always be there, your effort can slowly become invisible. Not because your effort has no value, but because people tend to appreciate what they feel they could lose. Think about it. If she knows you will always send the next message, she never has to wonder what happens if you don't. If she knows you will always forgive, she never has to confront the possibility of losing your trust. If she knows you will keep chasing, she never has to ask herself whether she is giving enough in return. And this is where many men make their biggest mistake. They respond to distance with more effort. They respond to rejection with more attention. They respond to indifference by trying even harder to prove their worth. But your worth was never something you were supposed to prove. The moment you stop chasing is not the moment you stop caring. It is the moment you stop trying to convince someone to care. You step back. You become quiet. You let her actions speak without constantly trying to change them. And suddenly something that was always there becomes visible. Your absence. Because sometimes people don't respect you more when you give them everything. They respect you when they realize that you are capable of walking away from anything that consistently makes you feel unwanted. And that is where the real shift begins. Not in her mind first, but in yours. Part 2. When certainty disappears. There is something most people don't realize about attraction and respect. Sometimes certainty makes people careless. When she knows exactly where you stand, she doesn't have to think about it. She knows you like her. She knows you'll probably text. She knows you'll forgive. She knows that even if she ignores you for days, you will eventually return. And because she feels certain, she doesn't have to question what you mean to her. But when that certainty disappears, the mind begins to pay attention. Suddenly, your silence feels different. She notices that you haven't sent the message you normally send. She checks her phone and realizes your name isn't there. She may visit your social media without saying anything. She may wonder whether you're busy, whether you're talking to someone else, whether you've finally moved on. And perhaps she doesn't even understand why these questions bother her. That's because the human mind is uncomfortable with unfinished stories. When something is certain, we stop thinking about it. But when something becomes uncertain, our attention returns to it. This is why your silence can sometimes create more awareness than your words ever did. Not because silence is a trick, not because you should pretend not to care, but because you have finally stopped giving her constant reassurance. And this is where respect begins to change. She starts realizing that your attention is not something she owns, it is something you choose to give. And choice creates value. A man who stays because he is afraid to lose someone is easy to take for granted. But a man who stays because he genuinely chooses to stay and is equally willing to walk away when he is consistently disrespected is different. His presence carries weight. His words carry weight. His time carries weight, because there is a boundary behind them. And perhaps for the first time she begins to understand. You were never desperate for her. You were simply giving her a chance to meet you halfway. But now that you have stopped walking toward her, she has to decide whether she is willing to take a step toward you. And that is when the dynamic changes. The chase ends, and observation begins. She may not say anything yet, but somewhere inside her mind, one question has already appeared. Why doesn't he chase me anymore? And sometimes that question is the beginning of respect. Before we continue, take a moment and ask yourself something honestly. Are you trying to make someone respect you? Or are you slowly losing respect for yourself just to keep them? Because sometimes the hardest person to walk away from isn't the person you love. It's the version of yourself that keeps hoping they will finally change. If you've ever found yourself chasing someone's attention, waiting for their messages, or wondering why your effort was never enough, then this message is for you. Subscribe to the channel if you want more deep lessons about love, self-respect, human psychology, and becoming emotionally stronger. And leave one word in the comments: respect. Not because you want someone else to respect you, but because you are making a promise to yourself that you will never again trade your dignity for someone's attention. And stay until the end, because the final lesson isn't about making her respect you. It's about becoming the kind of man who no longer needs to chase respect from anyone. Part 3. When she starts watching you. Something changes when you stop trying to get her attention. You begin to notice that you are no longer the one constantly initiating everything. And strangely enough, this is often when she begins to notice you. Not necessarily because she suddenly falls in love, not because some secret trick has worked, but because your behavior has changed. For a long time, she knew exactly what to expect from you. You would reach out. You would ask how her day was. You would try to keep the conversation alive. You would notice when something was wrong. You were always emotionally present. But now, there is silence. And silence creates space for observation. She may start paying attention to things she never noticed before. Are you still waiting for her? Are you still trying to impress her? Are you still reacting every time she gives you a little attention? Or have you genuinely started moving forward? This is important because respect is rarely created through words alone. It is created through consistency, through boundaries, through the way you carry yourself when someone doesn't give you what you want. Imagine two men. One says, "I respect myself." But every time she pulls away, he becomes desperate. He sends another message. He asks what he did wrong. He promises to change. He keeps trying to earn her attention. The other man doesn't make speeches. He simply steps back. He doesn't punish her. He doesn't become cruel. He doesn't play games. He just stops investing where there is no reciprocity. And over time, people notice the difference. The second man communicates something without saying a word. "I care about you, but I will not abandon myself for you." That is powerful, and perhaps she begins looking at you differently. Not because you became colder, and that can be surprisingly attractive. She may start wondering what changed. Why are you calmer? Why are you less reactive? Why don't you need her attention anymore? And eventually she may begin to realize something uncomfortable. The man she thought would always be waiting has started building a life that doesn't revolve around her. And that is often the moment respect begins to replace familiarity. Because when someone no longer has unlimited access to your attention, they are finally given the opportunity to understand its value. But there is one more shift that happens after this, and it is the one most people never see coming. Part 4. When she realizes you can walk away, there is a moment when someone finally understands that your patience has a limit. And sometimes that moment changes everything. For a long time, she may have believed that no matter how distant she became, you would remain. Maybe she didn't consciously think about it. Maybe she never intended to hurt you. But your consistency gave her certainty. She knew you cared. She knew you would forgive. She knew you would probably be there tomorrow. Until one day, you weren't. Not because you wanted to punish her. Not because you wanted to make her jealous. You simply reached the point where continuing to chase was costing you too much. your peace, your confidence, your dignity. And when a man reaches that point, something changes inside him. He no longer needs to announce that he's leaving. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't say, "You'll regret losing me." He simply accepts reality. If she doesn't choose him, he chooses himself. And that quiet decision can be more powerful than 1,000 words, because now she begins to understand something she couldn't see before. You have the ability to walk away. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means your care has boundaries. And boundaries create respect. Think about it. Someone who tolerates everything teaches others that they can give him anything. But someone who calmly walks away from disrespect teaches a different lesson. My presence is valuable, but it is not guaranteed. That realization can create a completely different kind of attention. She may begin to speak to you differently. She may become more curious about your life. She may start noticing your confidence, your calmness, your independence. And perhaps she begins to wonder whether she misunderstood you. Maybe she thought your kindness meant weakness. Maybe she thought your patience meant desperation. Maybe she thought you would always wait. But now she sees something else. Your kindness was a choice. Your patience was a choice. Your attention was a choice. And choices can be withdrawn when they are continually taken for granted. This is why the strongest response to being undervalued is not anger. It is distance. Not coldness, not revenge. Distance. Because distance gives both people the space to see the relationship without emotion clouding everything. And sometimes, from that distance, she finally sees what your constant presence prevented her from seeing. The man who was always trying to earn her attention was never the man she needed to respect. The man she needed to respect was the one who finally understood that he didn't have to earn basic respect at all. And now comes the most important question. What happens when she finally starts respecting you? But you have already learned how to live without needing her approval? Part 5. When her respect no longer defines your worth, and this is where everything changes. Because there may come a day when she finally notices you. She may speak to you differently. She may become warmer. She may start reaching out. She may even tell you that she misses the way things used to be. And for a moment, a part of you may feel satisfied. You may think, finally, she sees my value. But be careful, because there is a deeper trap waiting here. If you spent months chasing her approval, and now you need her respect to feel valuable, then you are still giving her control over your emotions. You have simply changed the question. Before you were asking, how can I make her want me? Now you are asking, how can I make her respect me? But the real question should be, do I respect myself? That is the question that changes everything. Because when you genuinely respect yourself, you stop performing for love. You stop pretending to be someone you're not. You stop accepting mixed signals just because you're afraid of being alone. You stop over-explaining your feelings to someone who has already shown you that they don't want to understand. And most importantly, you stop confusing attention with love. Anyone can give you attention. Someone can text you all night and still not value you. Someone can miss you and still not be capable of loving you properly. Someone can come back and still repeat the same behavior that hurt you before. So don't measure someone's feelings by whether they return. Measure them by how they treat you when they have access to you. That is where real respect lives. If she comes back, don't rush. Watch her actions. Does she communicate differently? Does she respect your boundaries? Does she make an effort without being chased? Does she value your presence without taking it for granted? Because words can create hope, but consistency creates trust. And if she doesn't come back, let her go. Not because she was meaningless, but because your life is too valuable to remain frozen, waiting for someone to recognize what you already know about yourself. The deepest form of self-respect is this. You can love someone deeply and still walk away when the relationship repeatedly destroys your peace. You can miss someone and still refuse to return to the same pain. You can care without chasing, and you can forgive without giving someone unlimited access to your life. So remember this. The moment you stop chasing is not necessarily the moment she starts respecting you. It is the moment you start respecting yourself enough to stop chasing. And once that happens, something beautiful follows. Whether she stays or leaves, you remain standing. Because your worth was never in her hands. It was always yours. Conclusion. The moment you stop chasing is not the moment you lose her. It may be the moment you finally find yourself. You don't need to disappear to make someone miss you. You don't need to become cold to make someone respect you. You simply need to stop giving your energy to someone who repeatedly makes you question your worth. If she respects you after you step away, let it be because she finally understands your value. And if she doesn't, keep walking, because your life should never depend on someone else's ability to recognize your worth. Stop chasing validation. Give people the freedom to choose you, and give yourself the courage to walk away when they don't. In your life today, protect your time, your peace, your boundaries, and your dignity. Invest that energy into becoming stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. Remember, the goal isn't to make her respect you. The goal is to respect yourself so deeply that you no longer accept anything less than genuine respect. If this message touched you, subscribe to the channel and join us for more powerful lessons about love, psychology, self-respect, and personal growth. Your support gives us the motivation to keep creating meaningful content that can help someone become stronger when life gets difficult. Thank you for taking the time to watch until the end of the video. See you in the next videos.